Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Live Your Spa Life show. Spa life is a lifestyle that accepts that accomplishment and harmony coexist. Spa life, the spa in spa life, the SPA is for seek power always, that power within you to do your greater purpose in the world. I am so thrilled to introduce to you my special guest today, Roe Couture DeSaro. She is an award-winning entrepreneur, speaker, and go-to expert for women leaders to break through their limits and current level of business to create more impact, income, and influence without the struggles and sacrifices. Roe, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's so wonderful. You know, you have such a wonderful past. I mean, I love this because sometimes people think that they don't know what is the through line that happens and how they get to where they come from. I mean, you have been on Wall Street, you have broken, glass ceilings, and, you have done things while being married and raising children. And a lot of times people think when they see someone who's ultra successful like you are, that there is a sacrifice in that. And a lot of people, I'm sure, ask you all the time, how did you balance those two things? And how did that work for you? Because that's one of the deep conversations we have here at Spa Life, is having that accomplishment and being able to have the family life and the things that you enjoy. How did you bring those things together to create your life?
You know, it's so interesting because this was back in the 80s. I didn't even know how I was doing it. And it wasn't until like years later, like maybe 5-6 years ago, actually, where I really looked back and said, okay, what was I doing that the women of today are trying to do? And I was doing it back in the 80s without even realizing it. And the one thing that finally popped up for me was that I had boundaries. And I've set boundaries all the time. And I think the reason why I was able to do that is because I had so much conviction, so much power in me of why I was doing what I was doing, that I created those boundaries, because it was like, nothing's going to stop me. So like, I tell women today, if they can't find that courage to step up and ask for what they want and set those boundaries, then they really need to look like, well, what do you stand for? Why, what's your opinion? Why are you doing this? Because I was doing it in the 80s because I was really upset. I was pissed off that my brother got more than I did. And I really, my whole purpose for Wall Street was two things. One, I wanted to make money. And I was fortunate to be in an area where all the young men were becoming commodity brokers, and they weren't college graduates. This wasn't stock market floor. This was the commodity floor. And I seen these wise guys, the Brooklyn Italian wise guys making a ton of money. So I'm like, if they could do it, I could do it. But then also being so upset that society was telling women can't do this, women can't do that. I had the only mom that worked in the neighborhood, so I knew we could. But that strong stance is what allowed me to say, okay, if I'm going to work, tell my husband that I need a maid. I need a caretaker if we're going to have kids. I need this, because I'm not going to do it otherwise.
Right.
That's really how I started.
So you were clear about what was important to you and how you wanted to spend your time. And, I can listen to what our listeners are saying. We're like, well, Roe, that sounds great to set the boundaries, but what happens when life gets messy and things get thrown at you? And, there is all these diverging things that come up. How is it that you maintain your boundaries when there are, quote, emergencies happening during the day?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. I don't 100% maintain them. I mean, life is life.
Right.
And I've seen over the years that times when I let those boundaries lapse, and I see the difference and effect it had on me. So, but there are times when we just gotta surrender and just go with the flow and just realize that life's not perfect. It's a process. It's a journey. Ask yourself the right questions. What am I learning here? What's the lessons? where can I improve? Where can I not? What's working? What's not working?
Right.
So we make it so complicated, but if we keep that focus and that intention on not only who we are, but on the lifestyle. See, I think what I've done is that I never decompartmentalize each area. I didn't treat business separate from my personal life. And I wasn't willing to have a business sacrificing my personal life. So
Right.
I've always kept the two together. So that was one thing that I've always focused on, that like, where's that lapse? And it didn't always work out. And I actually had a huge lesson on reminding myself of that.
Right.
That was my 9/11.
Right. And I definitely want to talk about that. And one of the things I always like to kind of solidify, because, a lot of times people are driving in their car and they're listening to that. And I want to make sure that some of these things land for them, is that it doesn't have to be perfect. Right. And so many times people have it as all or nothing, but there is a middle ground where you can reach. And, this is your intention. It's more about the intention that you're setting. And, life's going to happen and you have to kind of rebalance that and get it back there. But having that intention is really an important part in having that. And also this whole idea of, I think will be a relief for women to hear on here that you don't have to apologize for your personal life, right? That is a big part of who you are and why you're even working in the first place and doing your passions. And to actually have that be as part of your journey is a huge part of that. So I'm sure that there are, some life lessons for you, particularly as, you were a 9/11 survivor. What were some of the life lessons and successes and things that came out of that for someone who experienced that?
Well, immediately what it did is put my life into perspective. Because it actually came at a time when I didn't have the boundaries, when life was kind of crazy. So in 1998, I started a stock trading business with other partners, and we grew it to 100 traders. So at first, when I started, 4 o'clock, the market closed, I would get home like by 5 o'clock. And it was great. So I thought, oh, this is great. I'm back at Wall Street. I'm a partner and I'm home by 5. Well, that's because we had 5 traders when we started. And I was the manager. I was running the whole show. And when we grew to 100 traders, it was get to the point that life was really crazy. My husband was in a car accident and he had to go through a lot of surgeries. I couldn't even be there for him. Couldn't even take off certain days when he had surgery. Wow. My son was 18 months old at then, and he needed surgery. So it was like I had to pick my son over my husband. It was just different things. And then when that happened, all of a sudden, it's just put everything into perspective. It's like, what am I doing? Am I chasing success? Am I letting my family go? And I had to revisit it. But the lessons didn't happen until 2 years later, years later, when I was writing a book. And I really started to look and said, okay, what lessons did I learn? And what happened was, just to back up, in 2005, I had to shut down that business. So that multi-million-dollar revenue business, we had to close. We couldn't survive. So now it's 2007, just about when the market's now going collapsing again. And I'm starting all over. And I'm in my 40s. And my kids are young. And now I'm like, I thought I was going to have everything made by now, right?
Right. Now, how come you had to shut that business down? Was that because of the market, or?
Because of the market, we just couldn't survive. My location, it took the traders about a mile to walk from the nearest close station. We were the only building open in ground zero.
Wow.
So it was very difficult to get. So traders were dropping. The market was tough to make money. So the traders weren't earning money. So they were leaving for other jobs. So it was just very difficult to sustain it. Right. So when I started looking at these lessons, it was at a very low point in my life.
Right.
And probably is when my confidence was the lowest it's ever been in my entire life.
Right. Okay. So I'm sure also, again, for our listeners out there, how many of you, and you may be in this low place in your life now, and know that when you see a successful person, that they probably went through a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and the journey as you go through, it's not a straight through line. So these things
No.
happen. So if you're in this place right now, just lean in, because you can pull yourself out of that. So Roe, how did you reinvent yourself, and how did you move through that?
So I started to look at what happened on 9/11, and I realized that when everybody was running to save themselves, I wasn't. I let two of my boats go by and stayed back to try to find my family, to say my car is right across the river, come with me and let's escape together. So I started to say, well, what does that say about me? I was like, okay, immediately I'm a good emergency technician, right? I'll be good at EMT, right?
Right.
I could work for the police force like you, right?
Yeah.
But it also made me realize that I was there serving people, and I was putting other people before myself. And because I was in such a low, I was doubting everything I was doing. I doubted so much that I said, I'm really good at sales because I'm manipulating people.
Oh, wow.
And then I was starting at the point that no matter what's going to happen, I might as well just give up, because something's going to happen and destroy it. Every time I have a success, it gets wiped away. I lost everything in the 1987 stock market crash. So it wasn't the first rodeo, so to speak.
Right, right.
But then when I realized I had my power, and I realized that the emotional wall that was protecting me was tearing down my dreams. And that's when I realized that it's all about me. It's all my headset. It's everything that I'm saying to myself that's just destroying everything. And I was there. I just found my power, and I was able to flip it around. And it's just amazing when you have that aha, like you could really change your thoughts, your business on a flip of a coin.
Right. So, it's like, I mean, it's so amazing to have that awareness around that. Was there some like a mentor in your life? Was there something that you read? Was there something that actually turned from being in a low place, especially self-esteem, and having, failures that are happening, you're seeing the pattern of that. What was it that actually just flipped the switch for you? Was it something you woke up with, something that you had a realization? What was it specifically?
It really was that realization that in the heat of the moment, I was there to serve others. And that I'm not this selfish person that I think I am.
Right.
And I mean, I've been following personal development my entire life. So I've always had that good stuff back in my mind as well. Right. I've always had good mentors, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar. They were huge for me. So at the same time, I'm always filling myself up with the good, positive stuff.
Right.
At the same time, I had that realization.
Right. And,
so
I think I think it's so important to, for our listeners that, want to give, and you see, especially in, such an emergency, a nation under emergency, the fact that you are stepping in and that you're serving, and knowing that that is truly who you are. And it's always good to know, like, what are those things in our lives that we can go back to, that we were in alignment with ourselves and that we were doing that. And I think it's also important to the self-care aspect of it, the part of taking care of yourself first, because so many times we will give to the detriment of ourselves, and we cannot give deeply from a depleted state. And so really filling ourselves up allows us to give more and to happen in that way. So I know for sure, one of the things about how people consciously create their life and what that looks like. And, a lot of people are going to be like, how does she do this? I know that you devote the first 4 hours of your day to ground yourself. And people are, and you heard me right. I said 4 hours each day to ground yourself. Tell us a little bit about what time you get up and what that looks like, and how is it that you knew that this was something that you needed to do for you in order to give on a deeper level, and how you got out of any of the mindset around that this was being selfish, or any of the things that could maybe take you away from the habits that actually ground you and allow you to be your best self.
Well, yes, I do 4 hours every Not every day,
Love
not
that.
on the weekends, not on the weekends, generally not on the weekends. And if I do have a breakfast meeting, a morning meeting, obviously it changes a little bit, but I'm
Sure.
always doing at least 1 to 2 hours.
Got it.
And I'm in the gym at 6:30 in the morning. I am journaling, I am praying, I am like visualizing, meditating. So in the gym, before I leave, I go into the sauna and I do my meditation.
Love it.
No one's in there. So it's like I'm really doing both at the same time.
Right.
But what I've come to realize is, so here I was, this very strong woman, come from a long family of strong women and doers, do, like women that we do, we always doing, always doing. And it was really tapping into that masculine energy. But about 2 years ago, I started really tapping into more my spiritual side. And I really started learning more about my feminine energy and my essence and the feminine powers. And that's where I started to know and learn and see the difference that when I stop and listen, I could tap into my intuition. I could get that inner confidence. I could get that flow. My creativity, it goes through the roof. And as a solopreneur, creativity is everything.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Right.
yeah. So that's where, so today I say balance is knowing when to activate your feminine energy and when to activate your masculine energy and balancing the two.
Right.
That's balance to me today.
I think that is a great distinction because, if you look at the masculine energy of being like do and action, which we need to do in our business, and I know that you do that mix of street smarts and you know how to get things done. Right. And then setting the feminine energy, the time where you're actually listening within ourselves. And you and I've had conversations around, women in particular who second guess themselves. Right. And when you second guess yourself, that's a hesitation in your life and in your business, whereas you need to be able to react really quickly. And, that's where I share a lot about my law enforcement background. Like I had to trust my intuition. I had to be able to react really quickly. And, you being in emergency situations have seen that firsthand yourself. And so for women in particular in business to recognize that they really do have that inner knowing within them. And, it came to my mind real quick when you talked about being in the sauna as having that spiritual time and stuff. I thought, well, maybe the sauna is like the new confessional, right? For yourself.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. I love it.
Right. Confessing to yourself to be like, hey, here I am, open myself up to all of my inner wisdom, to all my inner knowingness. I'm allowing this time and space to make myself whole, right? To be able to step into the world. So that visualization maybe came back to years of Catholic school or something. But
so about 2 years ago, I started attending women's circles. And I fell in love with them so much, I started hosting them and facilitated it myself. This past summer, I did it on the beach in the mornings and sunsets at night. I live 8 minutes from the beach.
Love it.
And I found that when I get the women to come together in circle and do the work right there and then, the transformation is deep and lasting.
Yeah.
And like, it's like they were like reflecting during the week, and like the next day they're like, I got this aha, I got this breakthrough. Right. And what we're working on is our self-love, our self-acceptance, our self-forgiveness, our self-care, our self-worth, all the things that as women we keep putting to the side. And let me concentrate on the how-tos. Let me get another 3-letter certification behind my name, for my business card.
Right.
And concentrating so much on the skill set that we lack and not concentrating on our inner transformation. Right. And when we do that, that's when our feminine power really just goes crazy. And that's when we become unstoppable. That's when we don't second guess ourselves. Right. And we can really trust what we believe is what it's who we are, and not being what we think others want us to be.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, just
So,
tapping into that inner knowingness. You know, one of the things we always talk about as well is, you know, your environment. Like, what are the environments you're in and what you're creating, the people that you're spending time with, and being out in
mhm,
nature. You actually need to get out of your normal routines to
mhm,
really see things from a different perspective. And there's nothing more than being by the ocean or, you know, a lake or a park or something in nature to really get yourself and see the vastness of that, to really tap into those kind of things. Because when you're just in your everyday routine, you don't see anything outside the box. You don't see
mhm.
anything other. And so utilizing that to activate your creativity is such a huge bonus. Now, is this part of your programs where people get to have unique experiences? Is this
Mhm.
part of your business model, or is this something you do separately?
I incorporated it into my business model because I saw the results the women got so amazing, and
Right,
I loved it. And it kept me tapped into my feminine side as well. So
right.
I've now incorporated it into my business.
Well, and I love this because this is, you know, completely in alignment with you not compartmentalizing your life. You know that
Mhm.
these are the winning habits and strategies that work for you. And while you do that, you know, it allows women, I mean, because how you do one thing is how you do everything, and it
Right.
affects the different areas. I mean, if you're having, you know, struggles in your relationship, you're probably having struggles in your business, right? If you're having
Mhm.
struggles in your health, you know, but if you're empowered in your health, you're going to be empowered in your business because that same energy goes through all of those things. And so I love that you're more, you know, all encompassing in the things that you were doing with your work. So, and you're not just doing, you know, this one, you know, thing here. You also are managing director, Fort Lauderdale, you know, eWomenNetwork. I mean, so you're guiding women on multiple levels.
Yes, I'm the managing director for Central New Jersey.
Oh, I'm so
And
sorry.
it's okay.
Okay.
I
We'll
wouldn't
do a
mind
little editing
Florida.
on that. So, okay. So you are the
You're trying
managing
to,
director for New Jersey.
yes.
So thank you for that clarification, to be able to have that. And how,
And you know, it's because I've done a lot of work on knowing what my values are. I think when you can master your values and incorporate them into everything you do, it makes your business go so much more smoothly. So,
yes,
like a lot of decisions I make, besides like how's this going to move my business forward, but is this in alignment with who I am? Is this is in alignment with my values? So I'm always doing like those checkpoints on the alignment,
right.
and that's what helps. So one of my values was fun and fulfillment and freedom.
Nice. I
And
love that.
so it's that fulfillment is always on my mind. Like, is this fulfilling me? Is this, and then the fun part. So because real simple, what I find when I'm procrastinating or it's some stuck, I always look at it and say, well, how could I make this fun? And
Nice.
I just get it download.
That is so
And then
great.
I get motivated.
Well, yeah, you have to have like, what's the whole purpose behind what we're doing? I mean, so many times when we're just doing things just out of habit and it's not things that inspire us, to actually look and see how you can make it fun. I used to do that with my girls growing up when we had to do chores. Like, none of us wanted to do the chores, right? And so we looked at ways where we could play music, or we'd set a time frame where it's like, okay, this is the amount of time that we're doing it. And any way you can find the fun way of making things happen. I love how that works for you.
I did that with my daughter.
Oh,
She hated math, and today she's an artist.
right,
So getting her multiplications like memorized,
right.
I turned it into a song, and then all of a sudden she was like, "This is fun."
Right. Oh, it's so
So it
perfect. You know,
works.
it's the little tweaks really that make a big
Hmm.
difference in having that happen. I love how you're mentioning your values, because a lot of times, you know, people will talk about their values, but they aren't actually embodying them in the way of how they're living their life. So do you actually have things on your calendar that are a reflection of your values?
Yes,
Yeah. I
yes,
think that's so
absolutely.
important. You know, it's one of the things I love doing is calendaring exercises with my clients, where it's like, if you say that you value family, but you don't have your family on your calendar, how much of a value is that? And so
Right.
you can embody that and actually have it as part of your experience is really important. So I love how you've really incorporated all of that together. Now, and of course, in your spare time, you were a 4-time best-selling author. So how did that weave into the journey and the messaging, and how is the messaging different in your books?
It started because everybody was saying that to be credible, you need to be an author. And I totally didn't have any confidence in my writing. And it's actually what changed my whole life, because
Also,
because I committed to doing it. And once I made that commitment, all of a sudden, like, I became a different person. It's like, when you step into it, then you just like become the role. And that's what happened with my writing. Then once I did that, it was like the second one was easier. The third one's easier. It's a muscle. It's just like, risk taking is a muscle, just like exercise is. And it's like, once you get a little bit more comfortable, it gets a little bit more easier. What you're doing is you're really rewiring your brain. So it just makes your brain easier, because the brain goes to what's easy.
right.
So if I'm rewiring it that way, and the more I do it, the more I'm making it easier for my brain to do it again the next time.
Right.
So
So
that's what's helped.
what would you say would be the first, like a first step? Like if someone's like, I really want to take bigger risk and I really want to do like the next level in my business, or I want to write a book, or I want to do that thing, but I'm in a fearful state, or I'm not sure what that's going to be, and putting one more thing on my plate, and just all of those things that come up when we're about to step into risk or deciding whether we are or we're not. What would you say would be like the first step that someone can do to actually step into that risk?
Well, the first thing you got to realize is that if we don't take chances with, nothing's going to happen, So it all takes action. But it's a step by step, and doing the baby steps. You don't need to know everything up front. A lot of it, you'll get answers as you go along. And so it's like breaking it down into steps, but then also looking at the rewards and really see, because if we have fear of loss, it's because we're not looking at the gain. So if we have fear of it's going to be really hard, it's because that's what we're concentrating on. We're not seeing the benefits. So when you're looking at the risk, you really got to get into the dreaming, the visualization, the believing, get into the emotions of it, and then embody that. And that helps you pull you forward. But just realize you don't have to have all the answers today.
Right.
And if you don't take any steps, you'll never get the answers, because you can't figure it out in your head.
I
You
love
don't even
that
know what
so
you
much.
want.
Yeah. I love that because, it's just taking that first step. And, it reminds me of one of my favorite quotes by Wallace, where it was like, take the first step, no more, no less, and the next step will be revealed. So, it's just one of those, like, just taking that step, right? And then you'll see where the next one is, and the next bend, and having that happen. So,
Exactly.
Circling back around where we were talking about like environments, and you were talking about like getting outside in your environment. A lot of things I like to ask our guests is about their environment, like in their home, because you're going to have a different experience in like your bedroom versus your kitchen versus, your living room. And so what is your favorite room in your home, and why?
Good question. I'm going to say it's my office, because it's my domain. Like, the kids don't go there. My husband doesn't go there. It's my safe space of mine.
I love that.
Because, like everything else in the house is shared,
Right.
except for the bedrooms, so to speak. But
Yeah.
it's really, and what I did was, in my office, I have like brown wood, like office furniture, and then I made it a little feminized, but it's not it's like a slappy desk and just a computer on top. It's like real office furniture, real chairs, everything really nice. I have everything. If you see behind me is my EF hunting days, to remind me of like stuff that I've done really great. So, and plants. And then, but I always go out in the summertime. I go outside and work outside of my backyard a lot.
Right.
You know, when it's not humid.
Nice, nice. Well, I love that because, you know, a lot of times when I start working with people, their office is their least favorite room, which, you know, also typically means that there may be areas that they're stuck in their business and things aren't working. So I love when people choose their office, because when you love your office space and it actually inspires you, you're going to do well, you know, to have that as a space. So I think there's definitely a connection with that. So I love that you've created that. And hopefully that's maybe put a little bug in some of our
That's true.
listeners.
I didn't really think of it that way.
Yeah, right.
Makes sense.
If you go into a place that doesn't inspire you, I mean, a lot of people, because their office is maybe cluttered or they can't find anything or they have all these things happening in there, it actually slows them down in their life and their business. So you definitely want to make sure that your office is something that inspires you and you love. So the fact that it's your favorite one is so great. I love that.
My
So,
safe space.
yeah, safe space for sure. So, well, Ro, you have so many things to offer. We could be speaking, you know, all afternoon here. I know that you have a free gift, a guide for our listeners. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how they can get that?
Sure, absolutely. So it's my Gutsy Gal's Guide to Courage, Risks, and Rewards. And it's about taking that chance in life on yourself. So it is there to help you how to do exactly what we were just talking about, you know, take those steps and really evaluate it. And all they have to do is go to gutsygalsgetmore.com and they just fill in the information and they could get it. And it's going to come, it's a self-discovery, do it yourself at home. So it'll come in little beats at a time. So this way I'm not giving you everything all at once to overwhelm, because that's the last thing we want to do.
Right.
Right.
Right. I love that. Okay, perfect. And we will have in the show notes that link as well. So if you're driving and don't have anything to write down, you can go back to the show notes and be able to check that out and be able to get that. And then how can our listeners stay in contact with you?
They can email me. That would be great. It's Roe, R-O-E, at Roe Couture DeSaro.com. And I know you'll have it in the links.
Yes. Absolutely. So we'll have all those things there. And I just want to thank you so much for just sharing your journey, the ups and the downs, and just keeping it real. And I love how you just take some of that street smarts and your femininity, and you've made it where you've created a balance and boundaries that has really supported you. And this is so valuable to our listeners to be able to have that. So thank you for being willing to share.
Thank you. Like, if it could help one person, then it's a great day.
Absolutely.
So, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So listeners, if you've been tuning in here to our talk here with Ro and I, we're looking at you being more aware about your life and what is working for you and what's not. And so I also have a gift for you, is the liferesetquiz.com. You can go to liferesetquiz.com. That will also be in the show notes. And it'll take just 2 minutes to have some awareness around what's working in your life and where you may need some support. So look at the things that we've been talking about here. How are your boundaries? Like, how are things working out for you? Are you taking those extra risks? You're definitely going to want to, grab Ro's gift and be able to look at that. And if you're looking at this either on Facebook Live, or you're looking at the podcast, or wherever that is, first of all, please subscribe, because this is a message we want to get out into the world. This is how we support, women and women entrepreneurs, is to really support each other in that. So you can do that by subscribing. And then, please put in the comments, like, what was one aha that you got? What's one step that you're going to take? Because, knowledge is just, shelf help unless you've actually put action into it. So you want to take that step that has you move a step forward. And if you have any questions or want clarification, make sure that you tag both Ro and I in any of the comments you have, and we'd be happy to connect with you, answer any of your questions, and be able to support you at any level that we can. So as always, thank you so much for your time. That is the most valuable asset that we all have, and for tuning in. And so until we connect again, live your spa life. Bye for now. Bye.
Bye.